are coming for a splash. Three, two, one, now. All clear, punch it. Great job, you did really well.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
American oval racing is often seen as the realm of NASCAR, but it's easy to forget that before stock car racing became as wildly popular as it is now, open wheels were seen as the premier car on circle tracks. In a nod to this great heritage, the majors have pulled out a vintage car and a vintage track and put them together to see what happens. The Milwaukee Mile and the Lotus 49 bring back a flavor of times gone by as we get ready to watch the Tony Bettenhausen 200, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Next to him is our very own NASCAR Peak antifreeze driver, Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Christian, when we talk about cookie cutter tracks today, it's odd to remember that flat ovals used to be much more the norm. Tell us about this place.
Yeah, this is a really old school 1 mile track. It's got 9.25 degrees of banking, and we're doing 200 laps here tonight. It's a really, really difficult combination just to drive, so it'll definitely be a good race to watch with kind of how close the field is in here. I think we've got about half a second covers everybody right now. And we'll hand you over to the lap guide so you can see what it's like to get around here.
All right, we've got John Ambrose in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Milwaukee. This track is going to be a completely unique beast for the Lotus. With all the power and little grip, getting the car rotating will be critical. Being able to get the shot off of the corner will not only give you the ability to attack, but also to defend, since it's much easier to pass on the straight than it is in the corner. That's what you're seeing with the weird throttle control mid-corner, which John is using to help de-wedge the car. But it won't be about flat mashing the throttle coming out of the turns. Easing it in and being aware of the car's tendency to find grunt at higher revs will keep you from finding yourself facing the wrong way. Entry pretty much addresses the same concerns. Use the brakes to help rotate the car, but avoid being too violent with your inputs. Late in the race, the fact that the brakes are needed so much on an oval will tempt some into using it for overtakes when they get desperate. This won't always end well, hence why it's always advised to simply outgun your opponent on the straights. But hopefully, if you've kept it together, you've now finished a lap around Milwaukee. You see a lap around an oval from the Lotus 49 driver's perspective. Not often you'll see that, but we've done it before here on GSRC, but we're looking forward to today especially. Not sure how many of the drivers, Sean, are looking forward to it. This is not as well of an attended car, but even still, it's still championship points. So what are they coming in looking at in that championship?
Not well attended, Joe. We cover it every Saturday here on GSRC. Love this car. In fact, you're an ace driver in it. Anyway, let's look at the America's Pro points right now. And Matt Dunhorst at the top, 3,549. You know, there are a couple of drops this season. That's what those little droplets there are at the top in the drop points listed on your screen. How about that Travis Swarling coming up the board now, going past Liam Quinn, dropping him after the last round. And Boy, that is a battle we got to continue to watch right here until the very end of this championship season. Trevor Clement sitting back there in fourth now for Alliance. Don't have my Alliance shirt on today. Sorry, guys. Fifth, Eric Smith for V Apex Racing Group in the Americas. He sits only 421 points behind our leader, Matt Dunhorst. That can and probably will change before this season is over. Of course, here in the majors, they don't run the same thing every time we're out. So, different combos favor different drivers. But let's look at the next one. Let's look at the Constructors' Cup here real quick and take a look at that. What we got, Alliance Racing right now sitting on top. Pretty strong, actually. It's been a great season for them. Jason Fleischler, Little Train, Lyle Callisto up there, Bennett, Trevor Clement, Matt Dunhorst, all commanding that team at the moment. You see the point total, and well, it's not unsurmountable. Unorthodox is going to have to get busy, and they got some pretty good drivers on that team too. So only 981 points back. You look back at the Connecticut team, the Americas team. They're a little bit deeper back there, and they're going to need some help. But the season running out on us, but they do hold on to third. It was Dog Bear that made the big jump last time out. Wayne Hutchinson and the boys get the car and the team up into fourth. And riding shotgun, the Outlaw team. Blake and the boys there fall a point, but you know what? This could be the type of race that someone from that team could actually break through. Never count the riding shotgun boys and their Woody. They're out.
Yeah, a little bit surprised that an oval round sent them down a position. Maybe they can redeem themselves today. Let's take a look at what today holds in store for the drivers as well with the race details. We are on round 12 out of 14, so it is coming down to the end of the season. If you want a championship or if you want a position in that championship, you got to start doing something. Car, as we mentioned, is the Lotus 49, and the setups are open out here. And with this not being an oval car, you might see some drivers and some teams getting creative. It's 200 laps, the obvious, with it being a 200-mile race and a mile racetrack. They do have an incident cap, though, 27 incidents, and you are disqualified. They also have a spare car, so if they do get some damage, it can be admittedly easy to do in the Lotus 49 because it's a pretty tricky car to race. You have it waiting there for you. As always, you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. All you got to do that is go to their YouTube page or just below this video on YouTube. You'll see a big red button that says subscribed if you haven't yet. Click that. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. Watching the drivers warm up currently. We are in the top split, the pro split out of 3, I believe they did today. Or did they have 2 on this one?
Joe,
It was 2, excuse me.
They had 2. That's correct. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. They did have 3. There's a Sportsman too.
I thought I saw a third one.
Yeah,
but I wasn't sure if I confused it for a practice session. So at least we've got a decent amount of attendance, it seems. But Christian, you managed to go out and do something very few have done thus far. In fact, you're one of only 2 who's managed to win a race. So looking at what the weather holds in store for us, you seem the best position to really tell how it's going to affect the drivers.
Well, I think it kind of comes down to what sort of approach they're going to take. In the European race, I decided that I was going to try and do the entire race on a single set of tires and a single tank of gas, just because I noticed the tires don't really fall off. As the car gets lighter, you gain some pace anyway, and track position is worth a lot more than you would think, actually. It's really, really hard to pull a pass off in these cars. You got to be, like, insanely brave going into the corners to actually pull a pass for position. So it will be interesting to see if anybody's kind of cutting it in half. I do feel like the track gets a bit faster towards the end of the race. But realistically, if we do see any fall-off happening, I've got to be honest and say I don't really think it's going to be the cars falling off. I think it's going to be people getting tired.
Yeah, how much did you sweat? I'm curious.
I'd say, yeah, it was concentrating a lot. There wasn't a dull moment for sure.
As we watch Steve Driscoll work his way around, the top 2 really the ones we need to watch out for because they seem to be faring pretty well in these cars, which is good news for the championship story. Thunhorst and Warling are up in the top 5, both of them here in the warm-up. see how they go over race pace, though, because one lap doesn't always reflect how you are over the long term. Just about 5 minutes left before we'll find out how that squares out. Sean, it's been an incredible depth and variety of cars, and we've worked with you. Granted, you've worked more as a director than as a commentator on those Lotus 49 broadcasts, so you've had plenty of experience watching these things around the track as well. But this is completely new territory in terms of putting these cars on a different type of oval and watching it work its way around. So what are you expecting?
Well, first, I think we should lobby iRacing to put this on the Lotus 49 schedule. I would love to be able to get that in one of these seasons. Maybe season 1, 2020. We'll see. Joe, honestly, man, I got to tell you, just my limited amount of testing here on the track. Yeah, Christian could probably back me up on this, but your wheel input, being able to feather and burp that throttle are really essential. The work that Christian talked about, the sweat, really comes from that. And going back to what he said about, fearing that drivers will fall off to the end, that's exactly what you're dealing with on this car. I mean, mechanical grip, very, very important. You don't want to miss the set, but at the same time, you've got this. I compare this to like Darlington. This combo, much like a cup car at Darlington, you better be one hell of a driver. And I mean, again, this is a wheelman track. What back in NASCAR we always called wheelman. This is it, man. I mean, because that's what you're doing the whole race. You're our Finnish friends. I talked about this in the pre-race. Our Finnish friends would love this combo because I think maybe we'll see that Finnish flick from these guys a few times today. It's like ice out there. It really is. I mean, you're skating and your ability or inability to kind of drift that car a little bit are going to be, I think, key to surviving this thing. Now, I do expect the cars to probably single out, and maybe, like Christian said, it's going to be an awful hard to pull off a pass. But the whole hashtag send it thing, this not probably the place you want to do that, because it's probably not going to end well for you if you start driving like that. We got a deep field, great SOF, the strength of field here tonight. These guys have all run together pretty well in the past. So we'll see a lot of competition out there, hot track. But I am going back to Christian. I am interested how the strategy is going to play out, because I was surprised at his, to be honest with you. And obviously, winning the European majors in this car, this track, I tend to lean towards, hey, that wasn't a bad strategy. I'm a fan, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, obviously worked for Christian. But, Christian, you talked about the track position being so important. And that brings up the length of this track, which is only 1 mile, not really the longest of ovals. So lap traffic could come into play, not really just in trying to pass them, but also in staying on that lead lap, because they've gone old school with this. There's no lucky dog, just like they didn't have back when IndyCar was racing at the mile in the 60s.
I mean, yeah, that was kind of one of the things that I knew about kind of pre-race, and that was why I kind of got fixated on, and it's going to sound really bad, I got fixated on trying to put everybody a lap down. But the reason I was trying to do that is because I knew that if I could do it, then there was no coming back for them if a yellow came out. And it was the way of, for me, making the race as boring as possible, because then I knew I would be safe. I knew that there'd be no yellow, there'd be no late race restart that I could make a mistake on and it would really hurt me. And that's where I'm not really a big fan of this idea of having the pit in the middle, because if you have to pit, you're gonna lose about a full lap, and if then a yellow comes out, you've lost everything. You can't come back. There's no way of you doing it. So the safe option is definitely to start the race with as much fuel as you need to get to the end. The tires, they don't fall off at all. I just feel like it's the way to go. Initially, I wasn't sure, because you do give up about a tenth and a half compared with a half fuel setup. But there's just so much risk in having a pit. You're shuffling yourself back in the pack. You're gonna have to pass guys. If you want a nice run to some good points, I think you start with enough fuel to get to the end.
Really going to be just incredibly specific to this race in so many ways. We're not going to see much like this elsewhere in the season, which I guess is fitting for the majors with the way they run so many different cars on so many different types of tracks. as we got about 10 seconds left here in the warm-up. It is still Clement leading the timing sheets in the warm-up. Callisto in second out there. Thunhorst, our points leader, is in third. Curiously, Blake Reynolds is not been leading the championship for a while, if at all this season. I'll have to double check if he has topped the points at any point this season. Regardless, we are getting ready to grid up, which means it is time for the starting grid itself. Let's go through our order today. Steve Driscoll on the pole with Travis Warling on the pole with Matthew Thunhorst starting in second. Steve Driscoll will be starting in third. It's Trevor Clement who will be P4, followed by Eric Smith, one of our top 5 in the points, starting in 5th. Lionel Callisto, Little Train, starts 6th today. Jason Fleishley will be P7 at the drop of the green for his Alliance team. Wade Hayes will be 8th. Liam Quinn, the IndyCar master, can he do it in old school machinery, will be starting 9th. And Daniel Johnson will round out the top 10. Sean?
Yeah, we got Kevin Hill in his Lotus 49, number 52. He'll start 11th. Ryan Steele starting 12th today. Bob, let's keep it on the pizza, buddy. Bob Beltrami, the Californian, starting 13th in this one. Ross Banfield, the 777, starting 14th. Ray Partridge on row 8 there with Brian Bennett in the number 71. Good luck, Brian. And then we go to row 9. Going to be Brian McGreevy and old Dick Mueller there. And then another Northwest driver right behind Dick there, starting on row 10. Wayne Hutchinson. He's going to be flanked by Scott Corbin.
In 21st, we got Steve Stelstad. In 22nd, we've got one of our sportsman drivers, 5th in sportsman right now, actually, Ernie Ludwig. 23rd and 24th, we got Jason Wallet and Jeff Schmeier. And then on the last row of the grid, sneaking in, just by about a half a tenth there, we got Brian Barnes and Marcus Tracy.
Well, it is a long race, so even though they're at the back of the grid now, they could see themselves a little bit farther up as things go on. It could be a race of survival with the trickiness of handling this car. Who knows? Maybe just keeping it pointed forward and keeping it moving will gain you positions. Around 3 and 4. The pace car getting ready to peel in and release Travis Warling for 200 laps here around the Milwaukee Mile. Mustang pace car is in. Travis backs him up, but then he immediately gets on the throttle. Green flag is out here for round 12 in the majors. They come down into the first corner, and most of them getting single file very quickly. A few drivers stuck up on the high side, a little bit of 3 wide in the back. Otherwise, it's a pretty clean first and second set of corners, Sean.
Yes, it is. And honestly, Brian Bennett struggled a little bit, it seems like, with the connection here in the start. Wow, he ran right up on Banfield there, had to back out of it. He's got Bob Beltrami right below him. That's the part of the field that starts dropping back off the start there, Joe. Someone up front going all the way to the inside. I think that's Eric Smith.
Looks like Trevor Clement. Actually, no, that was Clement that went to the inside. It was Eric Smith to the outside. So Trevor going a little bit defensive there into the corner. Everybody getting strung out, mostly single file now here on the second lap, settling into this race. We have to go all the way back to 19th before we start to get some side-by-side action. Dick Mueller losing out to Scott Corbin, starts to pull away from him.
Yeah, just up in front of that one car that I saw drop back right off the start was Ryan Steele. I don't know if he fell asleep at the start or if he decided to just fade back a bit. But, Joe, as I say that, it does look like everybody's starting to kind of get in a line. Corbin making a run on Wayne Hutchinson, though. Yeah, that's right. Actually, I'm sorry. It was Dick Mueller making a run on Hutchinson.
Just in front of them, I think there was a little bit of contact, nose to tail, between Hutchison and Steele. They come out the other side, thankfully. You see a little side-by-side action in front of them. That's Brian Bennett being attacked by Ray Partridge, but Partridge can't get it done. Did you see much of the bottom line starting to go away, or was it just basically hug the inside, Christian, as we take a look at the lead being challenged?
He nearly got him. He's going to have good drive on the exit, though. I think he's... I mean, the inside is so powerful that the top side, there's really nothing there in this car. There's no downforce to help you. And this is 2 wide for second now.
Yeah, Driscoll kind of sent it there.
It's Warling who's stuck on the high side. Trevor Clement down there in fourth, also looking to get involved, maybe make it 3 wide early in the race. That seems a little bit gutsy.
I was thinking, surely not.
Steve Driscoll still fighting to retain that second place over Warling, still up high, stuck on the outer lane. We've seen this before, Sean, every Saturday night. It's looking a little bit like our local short track with the bootleg series.
It's
where
bootleggish. Yes.
Yeah.
It's looking bootleggish right now. I didn't see JR in the field, though.
That would have been cool if he could have shown up for this one. Clement looks like maybe he can get this done over Warling. Oh, and in fact, Warling now dropping like a rock here, Christian. In fact, gets awful close to the wall on the exit. He's down to 6th already.
Yeah, it looked like he was really trying to hold on. Oh, we got...
And it's a big one. That is Wade Hayes.
Wow.
33 going for a tumble. Now that's something that they can't really do in these cars that they can do in the stock cars, is that side-to-side contact. And that was Jason Fleischle that got into him.
Our buddy Jason there, he got in a little hot.
Despite the cloud cover that we've been getting here at the start of the race, watching from Fleischle's perspective here, it's still not cooled down. It's still 106 degrees on the track's surface.
And you know, Joe, we were talking about the car, of course, in the pre-race, and well, what doesn't the Lotus 49 do real well? Doesn't brake very well. Anything you know about, and Christian, I want your confirmation on this, but anything you know about a braking point in another car, you got to totally change that in Lotus 49, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's a total sledgehammer car. It doesn't slow down at all. And that right there, I mean, that's kind of the thing that you got to really respect about this car, is that it's not like anything else. And everybody's running really tight, and they're doing a really good job with it. But you just can't touch at all, because somebody's not making it out of it if you do.
Sledgehammer car. I'm going to borrow that one for the Lotus 49 broadcast.
I just hope we don't have to contact Peter Gabriel about that. Maybe nobody knows who he is anymore. I don't know.
We do have some takers down into the pits. Ryan Steele is in there. Wallet comes in. Marcus Tracy. And naturally, of course, Wade Hayes with his damage. He's trying to get, I would assume, his spare car. I wouldn't think, at least with the speeds we're seeing around here, Christian, the aerodynamics, they didn't count for a whole lot, did they, around here?
They don't, but you do get a significant draft effect down the straights when you're following people, and that actually really surprised me, because I didn't think that would be there, but it really is. You do get quite a big pull if you're kind of, not if you're necessarily right behind someone, but maybe if you're about half a second back. They do tow you down the straight quite nicely, and that really did surprise me.
Maybe that'll help facilitate a couple passes here today, as we're waiting for the lights to turn off on our first caution. Not even 10 laps into this 200-lap race. Thunhorst is your leader. Steve Driscoll now runs in second. Trevor Clement is in third. Your pole sitter, Travis Warling, due to some bad positioning that put him to the outside line, has fallen all the way down into 6th position. This restart could be the time that he needs to get aggressive to get some of those spots back.
Joe, guess who's watching? Someone that has a little bit of experience in this car, and he's got the day off tomorrow. Phil in and around the lake in the chat. Yeah.
I'm glad to see some of the vintage regulars hopping in to watch some of this. Big hello to Phil. We've had him race with us plenty, not just in the Lotus 49, but also in the Camel Series. I believe the lights are off at this point, so we should be going green this time by. Waiting for that Mustang pace car to pull in to release Matthew Thunhorst. Down into pit lane. Thunhorst immediately on the loud pedal. Big jump over second place Driscoll, but he also holds up all those behind him. Eric Smith not able to do anything with it, nor is Trevor Clement. Down into turn 1. Everybody mostly single file.
I think the single file restarts are really going to help out with kind of getting everybody sort of into a rhythm here. I think the initial start being too wide is really kind of as crazy as it's going to be on a restart.
That jump for Thunhorst gave him about a half a second over Driscoll. Let's see if he can start to pull away, if he can break that draft. Oh, and a car getting loose down into the pit lane. That was Trevor Clement.
I don't know how he saved it. He keeps going.
And he came back to the inside line, so thankfully he's going to have the desired line. Eric Smith a little bit up high, looking to outgun him off the corner. He could be solidly through as he shut the door. He can't. Now he does, though. Ooh. Takes it in deep to deny Clement the podium position.
Looks like Walling's kind of learned already that the top line isn't where you want to be. He's solidly pinned on the bottom now.
You already see the track rubbering in a little bit on that low line as they come down the front stretch once more. A couple cars popping out, but most everybody just working side or nose to tail. I see Scott Corbin managing to get by Dick Mueller. That's down into 18th position. Mid-pack very close together. We did see long green flag runs at least once down in the Euro split that Christian ran. What did that do to the tires without any sort of relief to kind of help ease up on the car?
It really doesn't do anything, if I'm honest. Like,
sorry, we got a spin in the back. And that was Scott Corbin, actually.
That was Corbin.
Corbin and Brian Barnes also finds himself spinning, which he was behind the initial incident. Corbin got into the back of Brian McGreevy, you'll see.
Did he check up or did he actually make contact? It was really, really close on my screen. Either the contact or the checkup sent him around.
It's so easy to do that, and the thing is that when you go into the corner, and if you're that close to somebody, you just carry a little bit more speed than they do, and they like really pull. Like, I feel bad for Scott right there because there's not really much he can do. Like, he's pretty much committed to the accident when he hits the brake pedal. You know, like he's clearly not trying to do that, but with how the car is, once you press the pedal and you've picked the line, really, and there's nothing you can do, not at least until you get the corner exit.
Yeah, and if you want this car to stop, you've really got to stab that pedal. I mean, boom, all the way to the bottom on that thing. And, well, like Christian was just saying, you know, either the contact or stabbing that pedal, one of them is going to get you around like that. But I think maybe he limited the damage there.
Yeah, it looked kind of a bit of a lazy spin for both. Just a big loss of track position.
And, you know, with no NASCAR lucky dog here in this one, boy, staying on that lead lap is really premium, Joe.
These drivers are going to have to get back out to stay on that lead lap. That's Ryan Steele, the car exiting his wallet. Once again, getting a little bit. Scott Corbin taking repairs. Marcus Tracy also coming back out on track. We do have one car already a lap down. That is Brian Barnes after his spin. He actually touched the suspension, so he should really hope that he didn't damage that around a track that will require it to really be in pristine condition. Taking a look at our championship situation, pretty easy to figure out that Thunhorst is going to continue to pull away on points. We talked about Warling, who was on the pole. He's gotten back up to 5th place, but he's going to have to really start climbing if he wants to make inroads on our points leader. Eric Smith being in 5th in the points. He's going to gain some if he manages to finish on the podium currently, but it's still a long race to go. We're not even a 10th of the way through.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you can write Warling off. I remember last year when we ran the Silver Crown race at Phoenix, Warling wasn't particularly strong in the first half of the race, and then suddenly out of nowhere he just appeared in the second half. So this to me feels like the equivalent of that race for this year. So I expect him to come back, and I expect him to be there at the end.
Let's see if he can start to make a little bit of moves in the middle of the pack to get higher than that top 5, because we're getting the green flag once again. And once again, our leader Thunhorst with a decent jump. Driscoll follows suit. Eric Smith down in third behind him. Close checkup between Clement and Warling as they get it going through 1 and 2. In fact, that caused Warling to lose a lot of momentum off the corner. Lionel Callisto takes a little bit of a peek, can't do anything with it. Way wide, way high, up on the line for Eric Smith. That opens the door, overshot the corner by a mile, and Trevor Clement's going to walk through the door. Where is he? He's trying to get the job done. Eric Smith stays high for him. Falls back behind and is going to lose one more position. Is now Travis Warling trying to fight his way through. He's got the desired low line into 3. Still being fought. Look at him fall back though now. Eric Smith losing yet another one with Lionel Callisto sneaking through. Smith goes from 3rd to 6th since that restart.
And Fleisch's sitting back there sizing it up, Joe. Go, Christian.
I was just going to say, I was actually a little surprised that Eric wasn't able to sneak into that gap in 4th, and by not being able to do that, he lost another 2 spots. So it's really a premium to be on that bottom line, and if you do get shuffled or if you overshoot the corner, you have to get back there as soon as you can.
Back onto the front stretch once again to tick off another lap. Matthew Thunhorst leading the way with, we got a car with a problem. What's going on with Banfield here? Why is he into the pits?
Definitely looked an intentional pit. I'm just wondering why. He's going to lose a lap here.
Kind of going back looking at that last lap. I don't think he made any contact or anything. No, everything was clean.
It was a very quick stop. It could have been some sort of penalty. I'm not sure what would give him just that quick stop and go. Meanwhile, we got a battle for 11th position. 10th position is Brian Bennett fighting off Johnson. Johnson sneaks back into line. He's learning exactly what you were talking about there, Christian. Knew he needs to get right back down as soon as he sees it doesn't work.
Yeah, Dan's a very, very cautious driver, but he also he knows what he needs to do, you know? So I'm sort of pulling for him to run well here today.
We got some confirmation. It was a jumped start for Ross Banfield. He overtook on the inside line before the start-finish line, so hence why he had to come in for the stop and go. Wayne Hutchison on the high side of Dick Mueller down in 15th position. Mueller going to look to try and get a little bit farther to the inside. He is all the way past if he wants it. If he wants to track out Wayne Hutchison, looking to power off the corner and deny him that opportunity, but it's not meant to be. Hutchison falls to 16th. Meyer taking a peek down into 1 and 2. 2 cars to his high side.
Gonna be able to get it done, but certainly if you leave the door open, expect people to go there.
This is all happening just in front of Brian Barnes, our only car a lap down. Is trying to do work to see if he can get onto the lead lap once again, but overtaking our leaders will be a lot harder than coming up through the mid-pack here.
Yeah, you're going to have to make this up the old-fashioned way, Joe. You got to earn it.
Already through an 8th of the race. We started to get a breakaway up at the front. Driscoll, following in Thunhorst tire tracks, has left Trevor Clement behind. But Clement did have to make a few passes to get where he is back into 3rd. And he's certainly being challenged by Warling, the number 90 behind him, getting awful close to that gearbox. Oh, and wow, he gets close. He is not afraid to ride right up behind him. Just back there, you can see that is Lionel Callisto and Eric Smith. Smith to the inside, ducking the number 32, trying to take the apex away, and I think he might have it.
I think so, Joe. Watch out. Here comes Liam. Or, I'm sorry, Jason. It's Jason.
Jason Fleischke on his own Alliance teammate. Going to try and take this position away. Callisto not fighting it too hard, but now he's really got to stop things soon. because don't forget Liam Quinn as well behind him in the blue machine, the number 24. Also going to take that inside line away through 1 and 2.
One thing I've noticed with these guys is that they kind of need to be more aggressive with once one car's gone by, you've got to cut down and get back in line. Like, Lionel's losing 2 extra spots here that he, to be honest, didn't really need to lose.
Exactly. Didn't have to give up as long as he had just gotten himself back in that bottom line. Exactly, Christian.
Looks like he's about to get Liam back, though. Liam went pretty high, but he's actually managed to keep the spot and get it done.
Yeah, curiously different line. Liam Quinn, again, one of the drivers that's very used to running the modern Indy car, the DW12 and the likes, the IR18. So maybe he's learned a few tricks on the oval side that Callisto has not yet. And these open wheel cars, certainly a good trick is catching it before it wobbles its way into the corner. He goes high, Callisto goes low. This time, that high line is not going to save him the position. He cuts back down, looks for the over-under. Callisto parks it on the exit and does not let him through.
Yeah, Liam's... I don't want to kind of say he's been struggling a little bit with this car, but I know he was speaking to me for most of the week, and he's not really too comfortable with it. I know he's been kind of struggling a little bit on corner exit, as we saw coming off of 4 right there, where Lionel got a big run on him.
Meanwhile, 3rd place now, a little bit side by side. Trevor Clement ahead of Travis Warling. Warling in the white machine, not able to get it off the corner, but look at them really slide there, Sean. That wall cam that Dougie's given us shows you how much they are tracking out.
Yeah, and as we were just watching that battle a moment ago, I mean, you see how much they're sliding into turns, how much movement there is in the car, and that's all 4 wheels, not just the right sides or the left side. They are literally skating all over the place.
This is some brave stuff from Warling, tucking his nose almost underneath the left rear tire of Trevor Clement. Can't really get the car loose aerodynamically with these things, but you can make someone nervous, that's for sure. I'm wondering how Trevor's handling this with the way that he has his mirrors just filled with Travis. Oh, but Travis made a mistake.
Yes, he did. Here comes Eric Smith.
Send it in a little too deep. Smith says, that's all I need. Tosses him a goodbye. No, he doesn't. Here comes Travis Warling back at him. They come together. And Warling into the wall. Caution is out.
Hard hit.
And he's going to get another one.
Yeah, that was that Bob? That was Bob, yeah. Oh, jeez. And that really destroyed Bob's car, too. Ugh.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fast repair for both.
Bob was on the binders, but again, this is the Lotus 49. You could only get on him so much, man. There's the contact. That's right rear to basically the left front.
Walling's in big trouble here. He's really struggling to get the car up to speed.
It's crabbing badly. He's just trying to get in to get the spare car and not go a lap down. Right now, the pace car is actually just behind him. I don't think he can even get down the pit lane at speed. We're watching the onboard to see his perspective. This is horrible news for our championship contender. 2nd in the points right now. He is so close to getting to his stall, but he's not going to make it in time. That pace car goes by, and he even misses his stall on top of it.
Well, no big surprise there. I mean, a handful coming down the pit lane. Feel bad for Bob. I totally feel for him after some time in this car. You're on the brakes. You feel like you're going to stop, but it won't stop. It just keeps going and going until it gets to a point. And obviously, he is going to take his spare car and lose that spot on the pit lane.
Yeah, that kind of comes back to what I was saying about once you've sort of selected your line for the corner, you've got what you've got. You know, I mean, Bob kind of just ended up in his door in the middle of the corner, but I think Bob committed to his line long before he ever saw that Travis was there.
We were talking about the drivers up at the top in the points positions in the Drivers' Championship and where they sit. Well, let's look at some of the other championships. Sean, I understand that you've got a few of them are lined up and ready to go here.
Yeah, why don't we look at the Sportsman Championship, the American Sportsman Championship right now. There's Kyle Murphy sitting at the top. Now, it's a slim lead, Joe, because the Northwind Puffin Racing Team and Sam Scott are just behind him with only 25 points back. Now, there has been a lot of movement in the American Sportsman Championship here for at least the last couple of rounds. Now, Peter Hibron for Northwind Puffin Racing also is 105 points back, but he is being closely followed by Mark Redeker for Dog Bear White. And, well, Rob Powers has picked up a spot and is in this top 5 now for Kinetic America Sport, just in 118 points back.
Thanks for that update, Sean. Lights are still on the pace car as they come out of 4. Travis Worley not only lost the lap, but he is now dead last on the field. All 26 cars are still running. 2 of them are lapped down. Brian Barnes, the only friend that Worling has on the same lap, Christian.
Yeah, and that was huge that he lost that lap right there, because it's going to be so hard for him to get back up through the field. And I mean, I feel like he's got the pace to do it, but as we kind of saw right before that incident, it's so hard to pass, and especially the guys at the front that if he does get there, which I'm really confident he will, to be honest, they're not going to want to let him go, because they know that if he gets back on the lead lap, he's absolutely a threat for the race win.
So we could see some unique driving. We're used to more modern rules, obviously, where you can be a little bit polite and don't want to fight too hard in some situations. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll see drivers with the lights now off on the pace car working and fighting tooth and nail to keep someone down if they can. Pace car is in. Thunhorst is off. Green flag is out. Steve Driscoll follows in that second position. He's been sitting there nicely for a while. Now, he followed up behind Thunhorst, and they broke away from those behind them last time, Sean, which is a good sign for them, although it doesn't look like Driscoll is quite as strong on the restarts.
Yeah, it doesn't. Certainly not after that one. Thunhorst, again, kind of ruled the start or the restart and is taking advantage of that right now. I think if I'm Driscoll, I'm seeing Trevor Clement back there, and I'm hoping he doesn't get any closer at this point. Going to have to try and break away from him and get back to working on that.
That's a good point. I think this is the first restart that Clement in recent times has been back up to that 3rd place. So he could start to pull away. He's got Eric Smith down behind him, and he certainly is looking good right now in these first couple laps, starting to stretch a slight gap back to Smith. It is a little over 0.4 of a second to the number 32. The top 3 about equidistant apart. We're almost a quarter of the way through the race now.
I like Fleischle's pace right now, Joe. I think he's figuring something out back there. He's picked up a couple of spots in this race, and honestly, the car, I'm riding on board, and the car looking pretty stable at the moment.
Well, we ride on board with Fleischle as well. Watching them head down into the corner, and you can really tell when someone starts to drift up. In this case, it's Clement who goes out of the line. Eric Smith sniffs something, comes down to the inside. But look at how deep Trevor takes it in, maybe a little bit too deep. In fact, he is way off there. He tries to cut back down and get back in the line, and he does. So he's going to stop any more passes from here as Eric Smith is now back onto the podium.
Seeing something here, Joe. 3 Alliance cars occupying our screen right now.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a 111 of Clement, the 77 of Fleischle, and the 2 of Callisto. And among that trio, you've got 2 champions in this series, so he is in good company.
And, of course, that team, your 2017 Majors Team Championship.
I believe they're the only team to have won the team championship, correct?
I believe you are right. I mean, I've got the shirt to prove it, so I want to preface that, though. I want to say I was not driving on that team. It was a very nice gift from Jason. Yes. I certainly appreciate it. It was my first skinny shirt.
That was sent to a couple of the members of GSRC Alliance, obviously just being friendly and sending us some swag as a thank you for our coverage. We ride on board with Thunhorst, our leader looking about 3/10 back down the road. That's Steve Driscoll. And it's the same story as we saw last time. Driscoll and Thunhorst seem the easiest to run away from the rest of the group. No one else able to keep pace. So far... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm actually keeping an eye on Walling. He's cutting through the pack. He's not showing us gaining any positions yet, but he's definitely being pretty ruthless about moving his way through.
Obviously,
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah, obviously, those in the back probably not willing to really risk trying to hold him behind. He gets a run. Down in 6, Liam Quinn, who is in 3rd in the points, is fighting with Lionel Kalisto. He just recently managed to get by, but Kalisto is going to fight back, has the momentum, doesn't have the track position. Does he cut down? He wants to, but he bobbles when he sees that it's not clear. Drifts back up. Kevin Hill says, I think I could take this away from you as well and make it number 2. Hill looking for 7th. He's got the inside. He's down in shallow into 1. And despite going in deep, Kalisto cannot hold him off. He starts to fall back mid-corner. He gets the shot off the corner. He might actually be successful in defending. He's got the chop off if he wants it. He comes down to the inside. Nicely done by the number 2.
You know, a little further back, Joe, we got some exciting stuff going on between Dick Mueller, Brian McGreevy.
Oh my goodness.
There's a big stack up back there. Wade Hayes, Ross Banfield, all in that.
Brian McGreevy up in the front of the group. Wade Hayes up top. One of the drivers involved, one of the first accidents. Jeff Schmeier down bottom on the light blue car that you see. Ross Banfield follows him. This is one of the biggest and most cluttered groups we've seen since the start of the race. Schmeier takes it in deep down into turn 3 up high. That is Brian Barnes, still looking to try and get a lap back. Not trying to get in anybody's way, but still rushing through the field himself.
It's a massive fight, and this is actually all centered around about 15th place.
Oh, boy. Jeez, they are stacking them up back there.
I'm waiting for the first 3 wide. A couple of people have looked for it and then backed out of it. It's gonna happen sooner or later.
Oh, boy. He's there and then he's not there, Christian.
Yeah, and they're gonna be 3 coming off the corner.
You got what you wanted.
So far. Yeah, I didn't expect it like that, but yeah. There's still 3 just about going into 1.
Yeah, that's Jeff Schmeier stuck in the middle. And, of course, Steve Seilstad down at the bottom. Off the top, Wade Hayes gets the shot. And all 3 cars make it out the other side. This is like watching a dance.
Yeah, we're going to have to start calling Christian Karnak, Joe, if anybody gets that. So nobody's getting that. I'm sorry. Somebody chime in and tell me you got that, please.
Well, Wade Hayes wound up not getting the spot that he quite wanted. And that means that Ryan Steele, oh, excuse me, that's not Hayes, similarly painted car, that's Corbin down on the bottom. And Steele trying to manage to overtake him. A lot of wheel spin out of turn 2 for Corbin. And he might lose out here. Almost drifts up a little bit into Steele. Now he gets the power down, and he's going to hold on to 19th.
It's almost like there's nothing going on up front. There really isn't, so this is great that we've got some racing back here.
I think they're finally getting single file in this group, though. Looks like they've settled it all out. Even though nothing's happening, it's still incredibly close between Thunhorst and Driscoll. Only 0.2 of a second between those two. They've gapped Eric Smith by nearly 2 seconds up there to 3rd.
Hey, Christian, how long did it take you to kind of get locked in, to kind of get in the groove?
I'd say I probably felt properly comfortable after maybe about 40, 45 laps, I think.
Okay. That makes sense, because that's what I think we're starting to see from a few guys out here anyway.
Yeah, it does kind of look like a lot of guys inside the top 10 especially are sort of settling down and just kind of trying to click off laps at this point. Outside of the top 10, that's definitely not what everybody's doing. There's still a lot of fighting going on.
The struggle is real back there, indeed.
Speaking of the struggle, progress report on Travis Warling. He's up to between 15th and 16th position out there.
Yeah,
So he's just about halfway up the pack.
He's getting into that hornet's nest that where we're just falling, and just up in front of him, they almost came together there. That was who was that? That was Ross Banfield. Almost got into the back of Dick Mueller. Oh, Ross is struggling with it now, just as Travis is coming up on him.
Out onto the backstretch once again. As behind them, we saw Mueller, of course, having his own problems. Banfield with another threat. Travis Warling this time trying to get a lap back. Thinks better of it. Just when you thought the lead couldn't get any closer, it's gone from 0.2 to 0.1 now, and Steve Driscoll is really giving Thunhorse something to think about. I don't know if he actually wants to attempt to pass at this point in the race, if he wants to wait, or if he needs to take any opportunity he can get.
It's always good to be kind of in control. I think I'd definitely be pushing to make the pass as early as I could, because then you have a significant advantage by having control of the restarts. You can kind of always get yourself about a half-second buffer, so I definitely go for it. Like, if he can pressure him even into the slightest mistake, he's got a good gap behind him. He's not under threat. Now is really the time to try and pull the pass.
And
a huge wreck in 4.
Yep.
And guess who is involved in it? Mueller and Warling as well, who has already used his spare car. It's driving better than it did before. Let's see how this happened. I caught just the tail of it.
I think Dick was still struggling with it just a bit. He tried to get back down into the groove, Joe.
That was Warling who he initially made contact with. And because Mueller got spun around, sadly, Banfield had nowhere to go to stay out of that. And who was that blue car? Looks like Wade Hayes.
I'm watching that replay, the onboard there. I mean, Travis took the car down just as far as he could, and now we're on board with Wade here. We'll catch his view of it.
He got the rebounding Warling.
That's such a shame for Wade, because he'd already taken his fast repair, so I'm pretty certain that's going to be the end of his day, and I know he uses VR, so that would have been a wild ride for him right there.
This puts even more cars laps down. Wade Hayes, one of them. Getting a little bit of chat from the stewards. Giving them a little bit of shake of the finger, it sounds like. Saying that they're making some risky passes. Nobody's been slapped on the wrist yet, but not something that you want to hear when the stewards start talking to you about how you're driving. Let's see, I think we got another points graphic that we can use. Sean, what's next up on the list?
Let's talk about the America's Legends drivers. And well, what do you have to do to qualify to be a legend? Well, you got to be old. So, and I'm qualified to speak on old. So
I thought it was
anyway.
3 miracles. No, wait, I'm thinking of Saints. Sorry.
Yeah, you see Brian Bennett there for Alliance on top right now, and Brian's having a great race. Actually, he's up 7 spots. So as long as he can finish out the way he started here so far, he might be in command of that going out. But Barnes back there for Dogberry Red, 133 points back. And then Bob Beltrami, who's obviously had his trouble already. It's a slew of Dogbear Red drivers right there in the middle of the top 5. And you got Wayne Hutchinson back there. And then Brian McGreevy for Unorthodox has got himself up into 5th. But Joe, look how close those points are amongst the bottom 3 there. They are going to have a fight to the end of this season. And, actually 6th isn't that far behind either. So that Legends Championship is definitely one to keep an eye on.
I'm wondering where some of them are. Hutchison currently sits in 12th, and Beltrami is in 17th. So with those close points between those two, they want to They want to be ahead of the other regardless, I'm sure.
Well, Bob's managed to stay on the lead lap after getting caught up in that. It was the first
Exactly.
caution, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's
First
still
or
on the lead
second?
lap.
Yeah.
We only have 4 cars a lap down or more. In fact, now we've got cars multiple laps down. Hayes, Warling, and Mueller are in taking repairs. Lights are
Yeah.
off on the pace car, and Christian will get going next time by.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Morling is now done. He's not moving from his pit box. He's 4 down. I think if he comes back out, he's just really going to be kind of trying to pick up on other people's misfortune, which is a real shame because I really felt like he had pace to probably win the race. And I was excited to see him come back through, and I was kind of keeping tabs on him, and he was being aggressive. I kind of don't really feel like he did anything wrong on that last one. I just don't think anybody was really prepared for the amount of speed he carried into the corner, and it just came together, and that kind of ended his day right there, and a couple other guys as well.
Day is certainly not ended for Thunhorst and Driscoll, now well past the first quarter of this race, and they have been the 2 drivers to beat. The pace car under these cloudy skies comes back in. Wow, big checkup. Cars almost getting into one another. Thunhorst takes off, and I think they got away without contact.
They did, Joe. Bennett, though, was the one who really, really dropped back on that restart.
In fact, it's
Another-
a mess in the back.
It really is, Joe.
Ray Partridge got up high. He lost a couple positions in that. Still got some side-by-side action.
Oh,
between
boy, watch out. Johnson was all over him. They almost made contact.
Johnson's still all over him, to be honest. Excuse me, that was no
Banfield.
Ross Banfield, yeah. Oh, and Ross is loose into turn 1, catches the car and gets it going, all while still attacking Johnson down to the inside of turn 1.
I think that was that finished flick I talked about, Joe.
Still side by side into 3 and 4 behind them. Cars starting to get stacked up. Hutchison, Seilstad, and McGreevy giving watch. But in the end, it is going to go in favor of Banfield, who takes 11th position.
I think what happened on the restart was I think Thunhorst got caught out by what I got caught out with earlier, is that if you're giving your teammates a countdown after the pace car pulls off, the green comes out quite early, and the green came out and Thunhorst wasn't going, so I think that's what caused that big checkup there. Oh, contact to the back.
Oh, there we go. Yep, that was, I think, Schmeier that actually got the wall. Coming on. Yeah, it is, Jeff. And he's sideways. He's drifting it through.
No caution yet, though. He's held the car, but it is severely damaged, and no doubt he will be going a lap down, having to take this thing down into pit lane. Let's look at the replay.
That was all him. Well, maybe there was. No, there was no contact.
There's definitely a little bit on exit, I think. It looked like he kind of got pinched to the wall.
Yeah, that is it. Yep.
Well, and that's a shame. It wasn't that hard of a touch, but it was just enough that it goes directly to the suspension. And with the suspension being so necessary, did he stay out? He stayed out.
Yeah,
He's
still
waiting for a caution.
He's still wiggling around out there.
I guess he's going to risk managing his pace and staying on the same lap as the leader in case we get another yellow so that he can come in and grab that spare car, or is he?
He's in.
Nope,
he's in,
call
Joe.
quits.
Yeah.
That's a shame. He was doing really well as well, actually. He moved up a lot of spaces.
Number 30 pops a new car, and, well, he gets tires while he's at it.
We'll take spaces for 200, Alex.
The highest car who's actually pitted is Ross Banfield right now. Well, actually, no, Ross, that wasn't even a pit stop. That was a penalty.
Right.
He's managed to stay on the lead lap.
Yep, holding on to the top 10. Not looking any fun behind him, though. Ray Partridge looks like he wants to get busy, Joe.
Ray Partridge in the number 88. Challenging behind him through 3 and 4. Certainly looks like a little bit more of a cork in the bottle as the ones ahead of him have stretched away. Not just the car of Partridge back there, but Daniel Johnson you see in the 474 close behind. Right on board with him now.
Gives a pretty good perspective of kind of the closing speed right in the center of the corner, actually. And you can see how it can catch people out quite easily. You just end up carrying a bit more in than they do, and all of a sudden you're right on the gearbox in the center of the corner. And if you panic a little bit and you maybe try and drag the brake a bit more, that's when things can really go bad.
Sean, that onboard just was such a stark contrast from what we saw earlier with the other Lotus on the service, the 79, where we saw nearly no suspension travel. And then you get into this thing, and wow, was it moving.
Yeah, in fact, George Osvaldo is out there from Lionheart, from the Retro Series and the IndyCar Series, and I'm sure he could attest to that. That Lotus 79 is a rigid beast, man. Not the 49. You see that travel, and you just go, man, that thing is... yet, even with all that travel, it's still damn near impossible to control the thing.
It's twitchy.
Yeah, it's twitchy, yes.
So we ride on the gearbox of our leader there. That was Driscoll following him, still in second, pulling a similar trick to what we saw before, pulling away. Not as far as what we've seen before, though. Eric Smith is holding on a little bit better than what we saw with Clement. The varying paces of the different drivers and their setups are becoming more and more apparent.
Driscoll looks like he's really trying to apply the pressure now.
Hey, Christian, I wanted to ask you something. We were talking about getting lapped here and going a lap down. Did anybody get a lap back in the Euro race?
I don't believe I allowed anybody to get a lap back. There was an opportunity at the end where I could have pitted, and I had one guy was asking me to. Oh, he got away with that.
Was that Smith into the wall that we saw? That was. He just about climbed it. Speaking of the bootleg series, that looked pretty similar to the modifieds.
Yes, it did.
Oh, just glanced
wow, he got away with that. Jeez. And he's still rolling, still looking good.
That's all of his luck for the next year right there.
That was
every time
9.
I did that, I was going to the inside wall.
Yeah, that was number 9. He got to the limit there.
Now jumping back on board with Driscoll with that pink helmet on board, looking up ahead. Very easy to spot. Different lines coming off of 2 between them, a little bit more shallow for the 51 versus our leader, the 98, taking it all the way out to the wall.
Little known fact, Joe. Pink,
who is what?
My favorite color. Oh, who is that that's off?
Dick Mueller.
Well, Dick's had his share of problems. He's several laps down, and it looks like he's got more problems now. It's the nose cone missing on that poor car.
He tried to bring the car out after repairs to see what points he could salvage, and he tried to just simply stay off the racing line so that he didn't bring out the caution because it wasn't.
He just took his spare, Joe. He just took his spare car. He hadn't used it previously.
After
car's fine. He's on his way back out.
Well, that's got to be frustrating. I'm not sure if that was an accident or what.
Oh, Eric Smith! Oh boy!
Thunhorst is well going a little bit wide at the same time that Driscoll is I was watching the same thing as you, Christian. He was thinking about trying something. They're going to go under the lap traffic of Mueller.
It looked like there might have been a little bit of contact going into 1 the last time by, like just a tiny touch.
That's exactly what I thought I had seen right there, Christian.
Well, we always talk on the stock car side about moving somebody using the chrome horn. What about here in these open wheel cars? You can touch nose to tail just slightly.
You got to be very brave to try that. if I see it happen and it gets like it pulls off without anybody going to the fence, I'll be really surprised. I'll be really impressed, but I'll be really surprised.
I don't know how much Thunhorst will really think that Driscoll might potentially do that. He might have to watch his mirrors, though, just in case it comes down to the end of the race.
This is the entire top four here, all within a second.
Absolutely, and it's a second and a half back to the next one, Fleischle in fifth, so they're pretty much running in their own little pack. It's even just a little bit of pink on the nose as well of Driscoll's paint job. And for those who haven't watched the Lotus 49 series, interestingly, back in F1 at the time this car ran, they didn't run sponsor liveries, of course, yet. They ran national liveries, and there was a national color of pink. It was Egypt, and it was ran once.
Who was that ran that in the Lotus 49, Joe? I'm trying to remember which driver that was that ran the Egypt paint scheme.
It was, I can't remember now. Yeah, it was an American driver. I remember that.
That's how we kind of came to first really talk about that. And the pink livery, big fan.
On screen, that's Kevin Hill that we ride with. Liam Quinn under attack from him for 7th position. Quinn's going to give him space down at the apex. That might allow Hill to completely get by. He still doesn't have the pass done as they cross the start-finish line this time by down into turn 1. Is he braver on the brakes? Just a little bit, though Quinn certainly trying his best on that high line. It is not meant to be. This might just be the longest green flag run we've had yet.
You said it now.
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame. That was Brian Bennett that we peered at number 71. A nice classic-looking scheme. But up at the front, the battle for first rages on. Thunhorst leads Driscoll, leads Smith, leads Clement.
It looks like Driscoll's maybe just kind of decided he's going to drop back and kind of just maybe try and put him to sleep and then do a big send or something on him. Looks like he's given up the pursuit for a little bit here.
Oh, Liam Quinn got the spot back from Hill. So that moves him back up to 7th. Seeing a little bit of connection problems for Wayne Hutchison. We've got Daniel Johnson close behind, but Wayne's been leaking a lot.
Yeah, in fact, I know in the majors, they will ask you to kind of get out of the way or get off the track if you're having a lot of trouble. And Wayne is really struggling at the moment with that.
That's unfortunate to see. He's solidly in the mid-pack up there in 12th. Hate for him to lose it in that fashion.
You know, just behind them, they got a really good battle going on between Bob Beltrami and Brian McGreevy right now. They've been side by side for about 4 laps. Jeez. Oh, boy.
Still going to stay side by side through 3 and 4. The car giving watch is Ryan Steele, and that is for position. A 3-way battle. Down to the inside, McGreevy takes another look at it. Doesn't quite work out in this case. There's a little bit of aggression happening between drivers as they attempt to use any trick that they can find. The track continues to rubber in and cool down, which is good news if you're ahead, as grip will continue to come in. Bad news if you're the car behind and want some sort of other line to open up.
Yeah, it looks like the most effective way to get a pass done right now is rather than actually try and make a pass, is to more just sort of force the guy you're trying to pass into a mistake. It's so hard to actually get any kind of overlap on people that it's definitely looking like it's much more effective to kind of just pile on a ton of pressure and wait for them to buckle than it is for you to try and make the move yourself.
Ooh, McGreevy's piling it on. In fact, he's piling it to the inside. And now he's going to be able to get through. Beltrami lets him have it. The number 14 falls to 16th. We've also been joined by a 4th car. That's Scott Corbin in the lighter blue machine at the tail of the train. Starting to get a lot of situations like this, it looks like, Sean. I'm seeing packs or pairs out there.
Yeah, indeed. And boy, Bob's going to, at the risk of losing another one here.
He does.
Yeah.
That's Ryan Steele getting it.
And Ryan's teammate is right behind Bob now, and Scott Corbin.
So that bumps Ryan up to 16th. They're starting to lose touch with McGreevy ahead of them now that he's got clear track up in front. Appropriately, Ryan Steele's car is blue. Oh, as we got a challenge for the lead. For the first time, we've seen Driscoll manage to get side by side. That was through 3 and 4. He's still down to the inside as they come through 1 and 2 now. He's got it fully passed, and look at that heads-up driving from Thunhorst. Slams it down to the bottom line.
I thought Eric Smith was going to try and take a bite out of the apple as Thunhorst fights back.
Wasn't going to let him have it that easily. He's given space, fair fighting from Driscoll, but he knows how to gun it off the corner. Oh, wow. Thunhorst, I am shocked that he found the grip on that low line. He's got it back.
He really sent it into one right there. He's completely sideways as he got to the apex. Managed to get it pulled up, though.
This is certainly lighting up Smith and Clement, though Clement falls back a little, maybe to give them some breathing room. Smith right on top of them as well, thinking that this battling could give him a chance to get up to the lead, potentially. We're just about to hit the halfway mark as well. Going by more lap traffic.
Man, Eric is really struggling on that run right there. It's opening up here for Trevor Clement.
Trevor's got the inside into 3 and 4. But Eric's going to take that one in deep. Rides the high line. We've seen Thunhorst manage to pull it off. But I don't think we'll be able to see Smith manage to pull it off. He's still staying with him. Nose to nose down into the first corner. And eventually he's got to give up the ghost. Maybe not. He says, no, I do not. And now he's fully by Clement up to 3rd.
It's a really nice pass there by Clement. And one thing I noticed in both of those fights right there is that the Alliance car is really, really good on corner exit. And that's what's making Thunhorst so hard to pass. Driscoll looks like he's got more corner speed, but every time Thunhorst is it's to his outside, he can't get enough momentum to have him cleared, or at least still be significantly side by side into the next corner.
So watch our top two, Thunhorst and Driscoll, start to creep away from Clement and Smith, with those two battling for 3rd. The top two pretty much have the track to themselves now. 20 of our 26 starters are still on the lead lap. However, only 24 of them are running.
Yeah, Wade Hayes, Travis Warling have both decided to park it, Joe, and they've parked it. They've both been in for over 20 minutes now. Actually, both look like they came in about the same time.
I think they were involved in that second accident together.
Right.
Ooh, another look to the inside. Driscoll, but he backs out of it. We have got a battle on our hands. Didn't look like it was going to be. Thunhorst at the start of this race looked nearly unstoppable, and then Steve came back to the fore, and suddenly the number 98 has got to watch more his mirrors than he does in front of the car.
Yeah, and just like that, we've only got 98 laps left now, Joe. Whoa, where's it going?
Down in 7th place, Kevin Hill, who we saw fighting with Liam Quinn, is back in front of Quinn once again. And Brian Bennett also challenging him.
Bennett's kind of moved his way up sort of quite methodically. He's up a 9th from 16th, so he's having a quiet day, but a pretty good one in terms of points right now.
Really one of our biggest movers. Let's not forget, a little bit farther behind, there's good action towards the back. Ryan Steele involved, and unfortunately for him, the involvement is falling down the timing sheets.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, though, with this certain spot in the field, that 16, 17, 18, 19, man. They all keep mixing it up, trying to send it 3 wide, and geez, it's been a lot of action. I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. Oh, but up front, though, Joe, man, there is madness going on.
Yeah, there is. Is that lap traffic? Yes, it is. That's Jason
It
Waller.
is, yeah.
Trying to stay out of the way. Clement going down low, going to deny him a chance to get back on the lead lap. And Eric Smith has just suddenly dropped like a rock. He is no longer in the picture. In fact, Smith may have to look behind himself because Jason Fleischle and Lionel Callisto, 2 teammates for Alliance, are back there, racing in 4th and 5th. The way the Constructors' Championship has been going, it's looking like Alliance might claim yet another. It's going to have to take a couple very bad races for them to lose out on this one. And Quinn and Hill still swapping positions back and forth. Probably the most we've seen positions swap back and forth anywhere in the field. Quinn up to 7th, Hill down to 8th. This has allowed Brian Bennett in his green number 71 to close. Should clarify for viewers who may not be as familiar with open wheel racing, even though they are racing this Lotus 49 in the classic open wheel American oval. They were not oval cars. The Lotus 49 ran in the F1 series over in Europe.
They weren't really big on exhibition races back then. A lot of drivers weren't big on the actual races to begin with because the safety, right? It's so many guys lost their lives back then in these cars, and they wouldn't just get them for fun. It was always very competitive.
Yeah. And they had a few in the 50s, and then they actually had another one in the 70s, I believe it was, at Ontario Speedway, where they had American open wheelers versus F1 cars back when it was still USAC.
And of course, huge USAC ties to the story of this race being the Tony Bettenhausen 200. Okay.
How long are we going to be here, Sean?
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow morning for breakfast, folks.
All right, that sounds good. So we watch the top 2. Now caught by Clement. He was dropped in the battle with Smith momentarily, but he's closed it in to about half a second up to Thunhorst and Driscoll. Though I know, Christian, that Thunhorst... Oh, and we got a caution. Yep.
It's on the front stretch.
Oh, Bob Beltrami involved again.
Yeah, that's... Beltrami has no spare car left. Oh, he made contact, just slight contact with Corbin, and that sent him into steel.
Go ahead, Joe.
I've already used it. I've already used the joke.
Try it again. Sure, why not? Jeez, that one.
The appropriately blue car of steel.
You watch the replay. You see Bob, that car just straight up in the air. Obviously, when it slams back down, it had nowhere to go but, well, into the wall and across the lane.
We've been going for quite a while. We're already halfway through this race, so we ourselves need to give our voices a rest. So we'll come back after a moment and bring you to green from this caution for round 12 of the majors. It is the Tony Bettenhausen 200 here at Milwaukee. Welcome back to the Milwaukee Mile. That is both our points leader and our race leader on the screen. Number 98 of Matthew Thunhorst, the Alliance driver, has pretty much been leading since close to the drop of the green. He took it away from our pole sitter Travis Warling early, and with Warling since having dramatic problems, there's been few who could challenge him. The main one is Steve Driscoll. Let's see if he can challenge him here as we come back to green on lap 112. Thunhorst gets a good jump over Driscoll. Behind him, a little bit of action looking up to the high side. That is Jason Fleischle, who now that he's close to Eric Smith, could have a whiff of gaining a position. He was well far back earlier on. They've been bunched back together, and we are on yet again. Boy, taking no time for Driscoll and Thunhorst to pull away this time. Absolutely dropping the field. Clement, though, seems to be under threat from Eric Smith. And that time we had, as we said, the longest green flag run, Christian, that we've had thus far. This starts to make me wonder that if Smith's good at the start of his stint, but not necessarily good at the end of it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it looks like it takes Trevor just a little bit longer to kind of find his rhythm. And like he's just slipped back just a little bit here, and now he's really under threat for this third place.
Clement doing what he can to try and keep Smith back, but as they come down into turn 3, onto the brakes, he heads much deeper into the corner than does Smith. In fact, Smith had Jason Fleischle looking up high, seeing if there's an opening. No such luck. Oh, in contact! That was Smith losing the car. Gets onto the pit exit lane, and he saves it, but he does not save his positions. Quinn, Callisto, and Fleischle get on by. One more might go through. That is Kevin Hill. Oh, and Quinn's going to get another position. Quinn managed to get to the inside of Lionel Callisto. That gives him top 5 spot.
Let's go for another one.
Fleischle just let him through, it looked like. Eric Smith comes back at him. He's got the inside of the Alliance car. They send it down into 3. Callisto gives him space, and he's through.
That could not have worked out any better for Liam Quinn right there. It's like they wanted him to pass.
I'm not sure, but I mean, you know, he's taking what he can get. Now in 4th place, as Eric Smith making short work of getting his way back forward after losing those spots himself.
Man, it's just gaggle of cars here.
It really is.
It's got me nervous, if I'm just being brutally honest.
That's
Poor
Quinn.
Wayne Hutchinson back there still struggling with this connection, Joe.
Yeah, that's Quinn in 4th, and then the train is Fleischle, Smith, Callisto, Hill. Oh, and Driscoll's managed to get to the inside yet again, coming off the high side. Christian mentioned it, that the Alliance car is good off the corner, and every single time it seems to flummox the number 51.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting really frustrating for him. Yeah, I could just sort of see it. I was focused on the kind of 5th place fight, and I could just see it. It looked like Steve was just underneath him, and again, just coming off the corner, he just can't maintain the same speed down the straightaway as Thunhorst can running that top line, and then when he gets to 3 and 4, it looks like he's almost too close, you know? Like in the middle of the corner, he's having to really check up, and that's actually hurting him to get off the corner, and then he falls back, and then he gets there again, and the cycle repeats. If he wants to pass, he's going to have to find something different, because what he's currently doing, Thunhorst has it completely covered. Even if Steve can get alongside him, it's not enough. Steve needs to find something else.
Well, Banfield back here, guys, has still got a lot of race left in him, but unfortunately he's was right next to Wayne Hutchinson, and that's kind of creating a problem for these guys here in this mix. Oh boy, and speaking of trouble, there we go. Banfield's car made contact with Wayne Hutchison. Hutchison was up in the air. I don't know how he held on to it.
Let's take a look at the replay. I wonder if that's because of Hutchison blinking, though.
I
think
think
it
there was
actually there.
I think there was contact here. At least on my screen, it looked like contact. Well, the replay will certainly sort it out for us.
Yeah, I don't think he was actually there. It looks like it was mostly just his connection causing him to jump around.
Sorry, guys.
We've come back to the leaders. Driscoll regains his ground to see if he can set himself up for Thunhorst yet again. I mean, considering the strengths and weaknesses between these two drivers' setups, though, Christian, I mean, what else can Driscoll do in this situation?
I think what he needs to maybe try, I don't know if this will work, but this is what I'd maybe be looking at doing, is to just to really run up on him in the 3 and kind of just maybe get to his outside right rear if he can. Even if there's no way of passing him there, it might just give him a bit of a better cut down on exit to actually maybe get a run on him in the 1. Because I think if he can exit turn 2 side by side with Thunhorst and still have overlap going into 3, he might be able to pull it off.
We've got side-by-side action between Quinn and Fleischle. Smith has since passed him back. Now Fleischle is trying to do it as well. Quinn stuck on the high side. Jason, the number 77, sends it in not as deep as Liam Quinn. Quinn making life incredibly difficult for the Club West driver. But the Alliance driver now is fully passed, and Lionel Kalisto spies an opportunity. He gets his nose down low. Oh, but he slides his way in big time, and Brian Bennett has to check up, almost going 3 wide for a moment, and now we got a caution for somewhere else.
Yep. Ryan Steele, guys. Steele back here, and boy, that and he has to take a tow. That didn't take long for him to make that decision. Yeah, Steele just makes contact with the wall by himself.
He does, and poor Jeff Schmeier, who's already 2 laps down, was caught up in it, and I think he's going to have to get his car repaired the way that it was wobbling. Let's watch from Jeff's view. Good catch on the 360, but it won't really repair the damage on his suspension.
And it's another solid run. It's a shame we caught that caution when we did.
Got a little less than 75 laps left to go in this 200-lap race around the Milwaukee Mile. It's the first time that they've run the Lotus 49 in this series, but it's meant to mimic the old IndyCar USAC series. Sean, you were talking a little bit about its relation to Tony Bettenhausen, who this race is named after.
Yeah, old Tony. You know, he was actually nicknamed that after boxing champion, heavyweight boxing champion Gene Tunney. And of course, then everybody referred to him as Tony later on. But listen, Tony Bettenhausen racked him up here at this track. In fact, he won the track championship at the Milwaukee Mile in 1942, 1946, and then again in 47. He was the old Chicago Raceway Park champion in 41, 42, and 47. He was a very, very busy man, during his famed career, he was part of that Chicago gang, the USAC midget car drivers that were all up there at the time. Emil Andres and Cowboy O'Rourke, Paul Russo, Jimmy Snyder, Wally Zale. They toured all those tracks in the Midwest and the East Coast of the United States. And, of course, he drove in the USAC Championship Car Series. And as I said, in 41, the 46 through 61 seasons, 121 starts, including 14 in the Indy 500. He finished in the top 10 74 times, guys, with 21 victories before, unfortunately, he lost his life in 61 in a crash at Indy while he was testing there. And Like many of the greats, it was again just way, way too early for his passing. I don't think his life was ever fully fulfilled there. But boy, I'll tell you what, the career was fulfilled by the time it all ended. And yeah, this one's special. The Tony Bettenhausen 200. Unfortunately, another driver's lost his life today, and seven-time NASCAR modified champion Mike Stefanik has passed away tragically in a plane crash just a few hours ago near Connecticut. So really sorry to hear that. Mike was a great guy, awesome champion, and friend of the family. So sorry to see him go.
Our thoughts certainly go out to all his friends, family, and fans who are probably hit by this loss. Racing, unfortunately, from time to time, does lose our heroes. Thankfully, we won't be losing anyone today out here in the sim world, and at least we hope not. I have heard stories of some freak accidents happening, but
Well, I've passed out behind the wheel on a sim, so that's certainly happened. That's going back to the old NASCAR heat days. But anyway, that's another story for another time.
well, right now, Matthew Thunhorst looking to take this one home. He's going to have to do so for 70 more laps. The lights out on the pace car. Driscoll starting to do more and more to try and take this away. He's been getting aggressive. He's been poking his nose in and making some risky moves. How risky is he willing to get to take the win? And how much is Thunhorst willing to chance not finishing, considering he could take another big chunk out of all of his competitors with back-to-back potential wins? In fact, he'd be the first one as we go green here to get 3 wins on the season of anybody in the Americas region. Right now, he gets a good start as Driscoll follows him into turn 3.
It looked like Driscoll actually tried to anticipate his restart there, because Driscoll kind of went a little bit before Thunhorst did, but wasn't able to make anything of it. Still right on his tail, though.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was thinking of when you mentioned he's got to do something else. That's about the only thing I could think of he could do as we get a car drifting up high. That's Eric Smith, who gets a little bit offline, and Clement stretches away from him as Jason Fleischle comes up behind. Doesn't have enough straightaway to try and grab the inside from him. Eric Smith has certainly been a bit of an up and down story here today at the front of the pack. Not been a perfect race, but still riding in the top 5.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, he's had great pace, and it seems like he's been in the mix. I keep waiting for him to make that big move to actually get himself on the podium. Hasn't quite worked itself out yet. We'll see here with about 68 laps to go.
Yep. Down to the
Steve's
inside.
got good opportunity.
He does indeed. He finds the grunt off of 4, and he finds his way down into 1, way high off the line. Thunhorst looks to maybe set himself up for the cut down for a late apex. He gets a monster run, and he's going to have to go super defensive, Steve Driscoll, to hold him back. He does. Covers off the inside. For the first time, could we see Steve Driscoll manage to retain the lead?
It was really smart by Steve to just force him to the outside if he was going to get back past him. And it looks like he might have it, but we'll have to see what kind of run Thunhorst gets up for 2. He's really, really strong there.
Just behind them, Christian, Trevor Clement just slammed the door on Eric Smith as Smith was trying to get a run on him. Smith's gone back to the outside to try and make it work, but boy, that was close.
Smith's one of the wilder drivers, I would say, this race, but he's definitely making it interesting to watch. And Thunhorst's got a big run to the inside.
He does. He's going to try and take this one away. This could work out in his favor with how strong he's been off the corner, way off the line and out of the grip. Driscoll starts to drift back. Thunhorst up to the inside and fully ahead. And though Driscoll tries to come back into 3, it was for naught.
Christian, I notice we're seeing a lot of fast times come up there up top of your screen. You said your fastest lap of the race was right there at the end. Is that more a result of just the tank getting emptier and the car getting a little bit lighter?
Yeah, absolutely. The like I said before, the tire really doesn't make much of a difference. It doesn't get hot at all. But the fuel burns off and you just get faster. I really tried to set my fastest lap on the very last lap, but I just fell about 100th short. Yeah, my fastest I think was on lap 192.
Yeah, and whereas the sun has come out just a bit more than where we were earlier in the race, the temp has actually gone down. It's only about 98 degrees on track right now.
Yeah, it does seem to get a little cooler as the race goes on as well.
Yeah, I think the sun getting a little bit lower now. It's currently about 3:30 in the afternoon virtual standard time here in Wisconsin. They come around to complete another lap. We're getting close now, 3/4 of the way through. But now we know it is possible for Driscoll to get by. Oh, getting close behind them as Clement almost gets a whack to the back from Eric Smith. Smith had to check up to try and keep from running into that gearbox.
Smith looks really strong, but he's just maybe not as patient as he needs to be. Like he's getting there, and he's getting close enough to have an opportunity, but then kind of it's almost like he presses it too soon, and then he has a moment and he drops back, and then he gets there again, and the cycle repeats. So I feel like if he maybe tones it down a little bit, he's definitely fast. I think he can fight for the win here if he could just kind of figure a way to pass.
Figuring a way to pass seems to really be the story of the day for a lot of drivers, no matter where they're battling in the pack. Smith continuing to run just outside of that podium position. Fleischle as well is close behind, who has seemed to do better and better as the race has gone on. I'm assuming that the car behaves a little bit differently from the heavy fuel to the light fuel as well. Could the setup really favor the lighter car in a way?
I know mine definitely did. It took about half the race for the car to... I set up around about half as much fuel as I knew I needed for the race. And pretty much once I got to that amount, the car definitely felt a lot better. The second half of the race, it was more responsive and more kind of what I've been expecting. So I definitely think the guys will have closer to what they were wanting and hoping their car was going to handle like at this stage of the race, and that might be why we're seeing a bit more aggression.
Riding on board with Quinn, who certainly has some aggression because he's been fighting with Callisto, who retains 6th place for the moment, but Callisto is looking very unsteady on his way down into 1 and 2. Doesn't lose the spot, but Quinn looking much smoother than the car ahead of him. Taking about half a lane up compared to Callisto through 3 and 4, squares off the exit, looking for the run. Bears no fruit this time by. This is all happening about 3 seconds behind our overall leaders.
Pass for 4th, maybe? Yeah, looks like... Oh, it's really tight.
That's Fleischle on the low line with Eric Smith up high. Fleischle hits an Alliance car. Then the run off the corner favoring him. Can he finish the job through 1 and 2, Sean?
I don't know. We'll see here. Fleischle does finish the job. You know, just behind them, Quinn having a fight with Callisto. They just went back and forth in the same turn. They traded positions twice.
Quinn's managed to get by Callisto.
Yeah.
So that bumps him up to 6th. Contrasting fortunes between the 2 Alliance cars. One gaining, one losing.
And you know, you talked about it earlier. You know, this race turned into like 2-car battles. Well, like, just behind them, you got Bennett and Hill going at it.
Just as we duck away from that battle, there we go to Bennett and Hill as well. 3 cars together, but side by side now between Quinn and Callisto. Little Train can't get it done. He can only get to him. He's trying to get by him. He's got the inside down into 1 and 2.
interestingly for me, Lionel seems to maybe not get as big a run off the corners as the other Alliance cars. He definitely doesn't look as strong as, say, Thunhorse does off of 4.
Another interesting thing I've been noticing, Christian, is it seems like Liam Quinn likes to diamond the corner compared to the other drivers around him. He's going to start to lose out here down into 1 as Kalisto's now gotten almost fully past, but he drifts up a little bit. Quinn's still next to him wheel to wheel, and now he falls back.
Okay, guys, I feel like I'm driving in this race. I'm sweating now, Christian, and it's a lot of work, man. I'm just filling in tonight. I wasn't supposed to work this hard, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Even running alone is a difficult combo. So having a fight with people is like a whole other thing, you know.
Don, I happen to know that your trainer has put you on bed rest, so this is your exercise for the week.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you reminding that. My doctor, quote unquote doctor, has put me on bed rest. Yeah.
Still Liam Quinn hounding Lionel Kalisto now that he's gotten back by into that 6th position. I tell you what, behind them, that is Banfield in the green machine, the number 777. What a race to manage to come in for a penalty, stay on the lead lap, and still be running in the top 10. Almost have that as one of my highlights of the race.
Yeah, I think he kind of played it smart with how he served the penalty. It worked out where he didn't lose a lap, and that's really what kept him in the game. And to be honest, that's kind of where Travis Warling's race unraveled. The fact he wasn't able to get back to the pits when he got that first round of damage meant that he was really shuffled to the back of the line, and he was never able to fully recover. It would have been interesting to see if he could have got his lap back, but unfortunately it wasn't to be.
Could it be for Thunhorst to get back-to-back wins and extend his championship lead? Driscoll is going to try and deny him. Thunhorst coming in leading by 346 points. Driscoll is sitting 9th, so he's not really a challenge points-wise. But Driscoll does have 1 win, and if he gets another one today, he would tie Thunhorst, who also is on par with Blake Reynolds, who has 2, as well as Tucker Minter.
Smith and Fleischle back at it, gentlemen. Smith just gets by him. I think these two are going to keep fighting here to the end.
1/4 of the race left to go at this point. And something happened to Quinn here as he loses a position to Banfield, of all people. And now Kevin Hill is on the attack.
I think Banfield threw his water bottle at him as he was going by, actually. And it rattled him, and now here comes Kevin Hill.
Oh, there goes Kevin Hill, because Brian Bennett is now past him. So Kevin Hill down to 10th and Bennett up into 9th. This is looking a lot like the Lotus 79 race early today, Sean, where as soon as something happened, is a chain reaction with everybody behind.
I made the water bottle comment because, this is a fully open cockpit on this machine, and it might not be beyond some of these guys. Maybe throw something at out of the driver's seat there at the guy next to him.
This car came to iRacing in big part because it was on Grand Prix Legends, which back when iRacing was Papyrus, they made, and the Lotus 49 was very popular in there. One of the things the community has wanted that was in Grand Prix Legends is asking the devs to allow us to give hand signals in these cars like they used to back in the day. I won't say which hand signals.
Everybody is number 1 in my book, Joe. There you go.
I'm sure.
It's absolutely necessary. That needs to be the Christmas update for iRacing.
I think
I've wanted that for
wear
years.
that out, Christian. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I just held the button down the whole time.
Yeah. If anybody would make that be old, like after a week, it'd probably be Christian.
We're watching Smith and Fleischle now. Smith has caught up to Jason, the former champion, doing what he can to try and keep him down and in 5th spot. Both of them have dropped off of the podium, which continues to stretch away from the rest of the field. In fact, our top drivers are starting to come up on lap traffic, and Driscoll's starting to look like he's trying to position himself a little bit. He ducked to the inside, is on screen. We got a little bit of a side-by-side battle off of 2. That was Smith and Fleischle, with Smith not able to overtake him.
This could be a good opportunity for Driscoll here to use the lap car. Well, lap car goes to the top of the track. That's the end of that one.
Corbett is in the spirit of the vintage racing, so he just was very polite and let them through. That's Clement that you see in the background that is next up the road. A little bit farther back, but still could take something away if either driver gets into trouble in front of him. Meanwhile,
Hill and Quinn,
here
man.
goes Quinn again.
It was actually Bennett in front of them just got by.
Is it Quinn that Bill nicknamed Mr. Excitement? I'm starting to see why. Right on board, side by side, down into 3. Kevin Hill on the low side. Quinn making that high line look a little bit more viable than before.
Yeah, I think Liam's just kind of struggling to get off the corners, and that might be why he's trying to run that top side. Is just maybe helps him a little bit. Doesn't get quite as much snap on the very exit.
Yeah, eventually it loses out, so Hill retains the 9th position. Quinn's going to keep trying anyways. Just liking that high entry, squaring it off. Oh, and what was that? Liam Quinn ducking to the inside, potentially wheel spin? So much from on board. Certainly chops it back down, looking for momentum. Yeah, that was wheel spin. Look at him counter steer.
Yeah, that setup, it can do that. You have to be really smooth on the throttle.
That was doing 130 miles an hour that he was counter steering the car. Those who think that it's easy to drive these things certainly need to hop in and try that themselves as we jump back to the leaders. Steve Driscoll keeps looking, keeps poking, keeps prodding on the number 98, and he seems faster. He seems like in places he should be able to try and get by, but the one time he did, it was handed right back pretty quickly.
This is borderline frustrating for me to watch. I've been watching this for the past 25 laps, and Steve gets a couple of laps together and gets right to him, and I'm like, is he gonna do it? And it's like he drops back a little bit, and I'm like, oh, like I don't have a dog in this fight. I just want to see an attempt, you know?
Right.
Well, and then you have to wonder too. Again, Thunhorst, how much is he expecting out of Driscoll when it comes to the end of the race? Because Driscoll could get argy-bargy in those final couple laps.
I mean, I know points is the thing for Thunhorst, but given how much of this race he's led, he wants to win. If he was just doing solely points racing, I think he'd have probably let him go by now, and especially that first time when Steve got ahead of him, I don't think he would have fought so hard to get back by.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, actually, Christian, because how deflating is that to lead as many laps? I know Adam Falsapani had trouble with like 20 to go in the Euro race, and he's still crushed. You lead so many laps or run up there at the front. At some point, it's instinctive, right? You want to win. Bennett and Banfield still going at it back here. I know we're not on it, but I'm kind of watching that third grouping, if you will, back there, and those guys are still really mixing it up, fellas. This is kind of nuts.
It really is. This is for 7th position, Banfield at the front of the train. You mentioned Bennett. Kevin Hill is in there. And don't forget Liam Quinn, who we saw fall a little bit backwards. He's regaining himself. Quinn was as high up as, wasn't he within 4th or 5th for a brief while?
He was just off the podium.
Almost just cooked one, and Steve's got to his inside.
Oh, this could be it. If he can get it by and manage to play defense for the final few laps of the race. Steve Driscoll taking it in hard into 3. He's fully past Matthew Thunhorst, maybe going for the over-under, get himself the launch off the corner, and I think he is, because he looks so much stronger down and across the line. He's almost past him by the start-finish line, and in fact, he is past him down into turn 1. Driscoll looking to pull the same move, and it's not working.
The Alliance car is just so good off the corner, and Steve can't do anything about it.
Well, I suspect our kinetic racer in the booth is going to be buddying up to some of those Alliance drivers after the race. Get some tips there. This is looking incredible for Matthew Thunhorst. Every time that I think Driscoll might have something, Matthew just denies him with ease. This is what Sean I would call the John Ulmer theory of setting up the car.
Yes. You bring up John. That's great. Hopefully he's watching and he's in on the joke with us.
Well, you make it fast in a straight line and off the corners, and nobody can beat you. They're going to go lap Ernie Ludwig, if Ernie lets them by, and Marcus Tracy. Oh, that's horrible for Driscoll off the corner.
It's like, come on, Ernie, let him by, man, let him by.
Clement sails it in there.
Yeah, Ludwig saw him coming. He gives him the inside line. Clement in a hurry because he also wants to try and win this race from his teammate. And that did indeed help him. He gained about half a second. Less than 30 laps to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, Clement's kind of been in that sort of no man's land in 3rd place, and maybe that's kind of kept him a little bit fresher than the guys ahead and behind of him, because he's, I mean, I'm not saying he isn't working hard out there, but he's not had to race anybody as hard as the other guys have. So he might be in a really good spot here, especially if the two ahead really start getting into it.
You know, we missed something. It was a number of laps ago, so I doubt we'll be able to get a replay, but Liam Quinn not only dropped off the back of the pack that he was with, but he lost the spot to Wayne Hutchinson. That's because he lost the car going into turn 1, had to catch it feet from the wall, and got it going once again. But he's not looking so hot. Oh, and it looks like he's recently gotten back by Hutchison. So Liam Quinn avoiding disaster. Oh, and that group that he was with is starting to get active again. Brian Bennett and Ross Banfield were side by side. Banfield now goes defensive, trying to keep Kevin Hill from taking the inside line away through 3 and 4. Your new order is Bennett 7th, Banfield 8th, Hill in 9th.
I find it hard to leave this battle, Joe. I think I've been with it for about 20, 30 minutes here.
And let's stay with this battle, but up at the top of your screen, you saw that Clement just ran the fastest lap of the race. I think the 111 is turning the wick up here at the end.
If there's any time to do it, it's now. Got about 25 laps to go.
Absolutely. He might have the same problems that Driscoll did. Granted, Clement is an Alliance driver. Traffic starting to get very thick around this short 1-mile oval with another long green flag run. Ray Partridge now being put a lap down. It's Jeff Schmeier behind them. He's multiple laps down, so not for position between himself and Partridge. Down to 25 laps left to go. And the race has really been between Thunhorst and Driscoll. Clement, with his watchful eye, decides he wants in on the action and is hustling to try and catch them to see if he can be a part of the story. They've gapped Jason Fleischle, who's in fourth, by a small margin. Otherwise, Fleischle has certainly been keeping pace. He's about 3.5 seconds back. Strikes me as interesting as well, Christian, is how much leeway they seem to give the wall on the exit of the corner.
Yeah, I think that comes from the front of the car being decently narrower than the rear, and Steve's making an attempt at a pass. He's got to him. Thunhorst has been kind of ran up a little bit there, but Thunhorst didn't get a good exit.
Is this going to be a different story than we've seen in previous laps? Thunhorst starts to come back. Driscoll has the inside. He's going to hold him off. But here is where Thunhorst starts to return and retake the lead. Not the best exit we've seen from the 98. Down into 3. What has he got?
Oh, he's kind of ran in too deep.
Did he finally run out of car? Is this finally Steve Driscoll's moment?
I'm wondering if Steve has kind of been selling us all a bit of a dummy with this, and that actually he's way stronger off the corner than we've seen, because he's not losing out at all now on corner exit. Like, suddenly out of nowhere, that thing is absolutely hauling off the corner.
Well, now is a good time as any, Sean, because you know what time it is.
It is.
Racing.
I was thinking if you were going to let me pull that out. Hey, baby, everybody, it's an all skate. The disco ball is dropping down out of the ceiling. Friends, it's time to boogie here. Let's get this party started with 20 to go.
Thunhorst might have a good run here, though.
He's got a decent one. Not sure that this will be enough to go on the attack. And Driscoll doesn't even cover off the inside. Hovering in the background, in the mirrors, Trevor Clement still within 0.7 of a second of this fight. I think if Thunhorst gets within half a car length on the exit, he could still yet get by. He's squaring off the exits now, looking for a little bit more speed.
He has to, like, stay composed, though, because I feel like with the draft effect that he's got and how strong that car is on exit, it's definitely doable for him to get back past, but he's kind of missed the apexes a couple of times now, and I think he needs to just dial it back a little bit, get back in his rhythm, and the opportunity will just come to him. It might even be now. He's going to have a good run here, I think. Yeah, Steve actually got out of the corner pretty good, so perhaps not. Well, but it's definitely not over.
What's curious is now that he's in the draft of Driscoll, as we were riding on board, he's honestly running out of gear by the end of the straightaway. So this is something that we haven't encountered before because we haven't watched Thunhorst race in the draft yet.
Yeah, well, something quick. Hang on. Daniel Johnson's right in front of them. They're rolling up on him right now. And what's Daniel going to do? Hopefully he's going to get out of the line here. This could get interesting, guys.
I think Dan's probably going to let him go into 1 this time.
Hopefully, because they came right up behind him through 3 and 4. Stays up high. Driscoll makes his intentions clear, gets down low. Nicely done by Johnson.
I think I'm going to have Soup send him a Danish.
Not a bear claw?
Oh, that's right. We do bear claws. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, we could be out of bear claws.
Well, you know, we could be. And remember, donut without a hole is a Danish.
Thunhorst has got a good run here.
Oh, this is the best we've seen.
He's definitely going to send it.
He tries to stick his nose to the inside. Driscoll's going to give him space on the outside of the corner. Looks to power
I think
off
he's going to
of
get
2.
him.
It's looking good for Thunhorst. He's about half a car length ahead. Driscoll still tries to fight it.
Way high on the top side by Driscoll. He's going to have to get a monumental run off the exit for that to work.
afraid he did not. That's the most amount of laps that we've seen Driscoll lead in a row. But he's going to have to get back in front soon, and the laps are running out. He closes back to the gearbox of Thunhorst. Going to be 13 to go this time by.
See, that was kind of what I was meaning, though, about how Thunhorst just needed to get back in a rhythm, maintain composure, and the opportunity would come to him, and it did.
Took a little bit of a peek down the front stretch. Comes back to the racing line.
A couple of comments about maybe running out of gear in the draft behind him. I know I set my car up like that. You just get a better pull off the corner. But I also set up 4th and 5th, so that 5th was a little bit longer just in case I needed it, and 4th was kind of my running gear. I'm guessing these guys maybe didn't do that.
Yeah, again, not an oval car traditionally,
Yeah.
so
Right.
got to be weird with the gearing.
Can I make a comparison? It's kind of like putting a modified at Daytona or something like that. At some point, you're gonna run out of gear.
I will say these cars can get up to as high as 220
Yes.
miles an hour when we take them to the
Le Mans?
oval at Le Mans is another good example.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say the Monza Oval, they get a lot of speed.
Got me thinking about the jump now, Joe.
See, that's what I think they should have done. Is held this race at Monza combined and stuck the drivers out there in this car.
Home of a former GSRC All-Star event, Joe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
10 to go this time by. Still, Thunhorst is not out of the woods, but Driscoll has had a hard time of things in this race. They come upon Brian McGreevy now, the next car to go one lap down. So far, everybody's been behaving pretty well when it comes to lap traffic, especially when they're alone like McGreevy is. You can't count on everything, though.
You know, Driscoll just turned fastest lap of the race, so we're still knocking him down here, Christian.
Yeah, I mean, they're just getting quicker and quicker. I think 3:34 last time by. That's pretty insanely fast lap time right there.
McGreevy moving up high, letting both of them down. We also have no green-white checkers either, so if this thing can't finish under caution.
No.
Well, and that it's important because Driscoll, if he wants to win, he needs to be ahead as much as possible, just to bar circumstances out of his control.
More laugh track coming up for these two.
That's going to be Brian Barnes. And then from there, I doubt they'll catch anyone all the way to the checkered flag.
Jeez, I can't believe there's 7 laps. I'm used to majors races, you know, going on, 3 hours or so, 3.5 hours. And we are just ripping this one off.
It's appropriate, since this is a vintage race, that they wouldn't have too many in the way of cautions. Keep the thing going as much as possible. As they rock up behind Brian Barnes, he's going to stay low down the back stretch and let our 2 leaders through.
That right rear of Thunhorst just kind of slapped the wall coming off the turn there. It sure looked like it.
I didn't quite catch it. I was keeping my eye on what Barnes was doing.
Yeah.
Maybe Thunhorst was doing the same.
A little target fixation maybe. And
Just going way deep.
Driscoll's trying some different things now. Sends it in way hot into turn 1. 5 to go next time across the line.
I'm the one who
try
said
and
it.
force a mistake.
I'm the one who said earlier it's probably not the best track to send it at. And, well, I think that's what Driscoll's going to have to do to get this done, guys.
It certainly looks like desperation is showing a little bit in the way that he's driving, and it might be costing him. He falls back even more now off of the back of Thunhorst after that corner.
Yeah, not really sure that was the fastest way through there. This track's kind of one of those weird ones where the slower you drive it, the more you kind of keep it pinned down on the line, the faster you go. So it's really hard to kind of gain anything because of that, because you drive in harder and you don't go any faster. You actually hurt yourself and go slower.
Nick Mueller, also a lapped car, staying high as Thunhorse sets another fastest lap. And it looks to be job done as long as he doesn't make any big mistakes, because Driscoll now a half a second behind, and this is the farthest away we've seen him since the last restart, with multiple car lengths between the 98 and the 51. 3 laps to go now. Let's not forget, there's some great racing a little bit farther down as Ross Banfield closes in on Bennett. Behind them, poor Kevin Hill just about clattered the wall coming off of 4. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. An ultimate lap now, and Driscoll continues to drop. It is 0.7 of a second from himself up to Thunhorst. Matthew Thunhorst is looking like he'll become the first driver to hit 3 wins this season in the Americas region of the majors. An incredibly difficult feat, especially with how tight the competition has been this season. White flag now waving for the field. Thunhorst, the first to see it, stretching his gap to 1 second back to Steve Driscoll. 2 corners to go for the number 98. He did it in a stock car, and now he's going to do it in open wheels. Matthew Thunhorst takes win number 3 on the season here at the Milwaukee Mile. Driscoll follows him home. Clement rounds out the podium. Former champion Jason Fleischle with a nice top 4 too.
Yeah, and just going to miss out on that podium too. What a drive by him today.
Out of all the cars racing, it looks like 12 will finish on the lead lap. Style set going to be the last one.
Man, what a fun race. Jeez, I really like this combo a lot. Because I don't have to drive it, so
Yeah.
I get to commentate it.
Well, we are going to go to a quick break because we've only had one this whole time. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. 200 laps, 200 miles around the Milwaukee Mile. And after all of those 200 laps, Matthew Thunhorst is the first driver to take 3 victories this season and extends his points lead with now only 2 rounds left to go. Steve Driscoll followed him home with a well-earned second place, and though he fought him for it, he clearly had run out of steam at the end and fell back. Trevor Clement wound up in third, rounded out the podium. Jason Fleischle finished fourth. Clearly a good driver on the oval side. I almost feel like he should do a few more oval races out on iRacing. Just a thought. Eric Smith takes a top 5 with Lionel Colisto finishing 6th. Brian Bennett finished in 7th after qualifying in 16th. What a race pace from the 71. Ross Banfield with an 8th today. Kevin Hill finishes in 9th. And Sean Liam Quinn, Mr. Excitement, winds up with a top 10.
That's okay. That's pretty exciting. That's not horrible. Then we're going to roll down to Wayne Hutchinson, and despite the connection problems he was suffering through, he does manage to finish on the lead lap there in 11th. Steve Stilstad, after some trouble early, he'll hang on to the lead lap as well, finish P12. Brian McGreevy, man, I know there was a better day in there for him, but he'll finish the first car a lap down in 13th. Daniel Johnson, 14th for him. Guys, did we talk about Ray? I almost feel bad about that. Ray Partridge, 15th. Scotty Corbin, 16th for him. Ernie Ludwig, 17th today. Brian Barnes will finish 18th in the number 4. Marcus Tracy with a 19th place finish. And Jason Wallet will finish 20th in the number 114, boys.
And then we got Jeff Schmeier. He was running so good near the beginning of the race, but unfortunately finishes 3 laps down in 21st. Dick Mueller was involved in quite a bit of the wrecks we saw tonight. not really on his part, but just, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So he was our first, non-finisher, as it were, 21 laps down in 22nd. Then we had Ryan Steele. He was involved in a couple of things as well, 77 laps down in 23rd. And then really the 3 big casualties early on in the race, Bob Beltrami, Wade Hayes, and Travis Walling, the pole sitter, all coming home 24th, 25th, and 26th. So they'll be hoping for a better race next time out.
Certainly will. That is severe disappointment for Warling, but ecstaticness, I'm sure, for our winner, Matthew Thunhorst, the first driver to win 3 times this season. Matt, you clearly are good both in stock cars and open wheel cars. How do you feel having run the Lotus 49 now on an oval?
I hurt everywhere, Joe. This car was, it was a handful, but if you had a good set on it and you could really contain the beast of it, it was very rewarding. I know. And it didn't help that I had Driscoll basically parked on my rear axle pretty much the entire race. He was shoving so much pressure on me. It was just, that was a really intense race, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, Christian spotted early on that it seemed the Alliance cars were very good off the corner, and that almost seemed to be your saving grace. Anytime Driscoll got by you, it didn't take you too long to get back by. Did your team focus really on getting the car good off the corners intentionally?
And when Jason and Trevor were doing a lot of the building, they just focused on trying to get a good setup. And the issue we were struggling with, especially in 1 and 2 for me, was that I always liked to have a car that exits really good. So I took a pound of right rear out so I could get that launch off. And so compared to Driscoll and Travis and 1 and 2, they were just killing us. But it's almost like because we were tighter there, we were better for 3 and 4. And I worked real hard to always get the exit going good, because this car just, especially with that tunnel out of turn 4 and those bumps, if this car was sideways at all, it got to be a real handful real quick. And with this race being one of that, who could be the cleanest and not make the most mistakes, it was just, in the corner drove well. I mean, you could have issues on the entry with brake bias, and off the exit was always troublesome. So I always try to focus there to keep the car straight and consistent as best I could.
Obviously, this will also extend your gap on your points lead in the America's Championship, and there's only 2 rounds to go. Are you feeling nervous at all about this? Because obviously you're not completely mathematically locked in as the champion this season.
For sure. I mean, there's always nerves, and I mean, I'm looking at it, and we got F1 and we got the V8 supercars with Bathurst, and I've always loved the Bathurst event. So it's comforting to have that going into, but there's always nerves. I mean, you kind of think, well, I could screw it up tonight. There were so many times where I could have overcorrected or wrecked the car, and there has to be a point as a driver where that's still eating at the back of your mind, but you just shove it somewhere else and you got to focus on what's being done. Because I mean, to win the championship in the majors would mean a lot to me, and by no means is it locked up yet, and I could easily shoot myself in the foot and lose this. But we just got to keep taking it one race at a time, and I got to keep proving why I deserve to be number one in the Americas.
Well, congratulations on the victory today. You certainly proved why you should retain that lead with a very different car compared to last round. Well done, sir.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thanks, guys.
That was Matthew Thunhorst, our winner here today. Up next, Sean is going to be talking to the driver that hassled him the whole way, Steve Driscoll.
Yeah, Steve, after that interview, well, we confirmed you were making him very nervous. How much work was it behind the wheel trying to get that done there at the end to go for the win?
For 195 laps, I put absolutely everything I could into it to find a clean way around him and, just race him clean. And there was a lot of work involved. It was just, my car was a little bit better in one part of the track and his was on another. And it was just great battling, great battle. And, really congratulations to Matthew there. That was a lot of fun.
Steve, I'm curious, how much testing did you get into to kind of lock this combination down?
This is where I got to thank the team for it. Actually, I just started school and had a 70-hour work week, and today I was at the Bengals game. So luckily, I didn't start live practice till I think Friday night, and they had a pretty good setup. I made some tweaks to it and found something that I was comfortable with. So I really got to appreciate the guys like Kevin Hill and Travis for the work this week.
I'm curious, real quick. It's just since you said you went to the Bengals game, Steve. This is Joe. I actually hail from Cincinnati originally. Are you from Cincy?
I'm right outside of just south of Indianapolis, so it's about a 2-hour drive. But I'm originally from Massachusetts, and I just can't stand Indianapolis football, so I like being outdoors. So it's more fun down in Cincinnati now.
Well, I'm sorry you've chosen Cincinnati as your team. My commiserations, sir. I'll hand it back to Sean.
Trust me, my next question was going to be a whole lot different than that, Joe, other than the fact I'd never lived in Cincinnati. But boy, I do sympathize you volunteering to go to that today. But anyway, listen, no, Steve, seriously, I'm even more impressed at this point. I was talking in a pre-race about how this combination, whereas the setup is important, this is really a driver's track in this car. How much input were you given to the wheel and those pedals throughout this track or throughout the length of the race?
Yeah, so it wasn't really necessarily the steering wheel. It was more the brake pedal. I was using that to rotate the car through the entry and center of the corner. And
So
it looked like I was really starting to get Matthew there in the middle, but I just couldn't get the power down quite as easily as he did.
All right, so you're a little more a fan of using dragging that brake a little bit to get that car to rotate, as opposed to just kind of burping and kind of working the throttle.
Yeah, definitely. That's the old thing from Grand Prix Legends way back in the day when I drove these. This was the way to get it done.
Okay, so Joe, there's your answer. That's why Steve nailed this tonight, is because he's an old GPL guy.
Absolutely. Great to hear.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you. And once again, congrats to Matt. That was a heck of a race.
All right, Joe. Well, that was Steve Driscoll. That's his story. And looks like we maybe got one more driver to talk to complete this podium. Christian's got Trevor Clement.
Trevor, you ran third in the end of the race right there, and you kind of looked like you're a little bit in no man's land. You weren't quite in the battle for the lead, but you were well clear of everybody behind you. Did you kind of think there might be an opportunity near the end if the two ahead of you kind of got into each other a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I could have kept my head together a little bit, my car was really tight on restarts, and I really struggled on those first 5-10 laps. And in doing that, I was playing more defense, and they'd check out a little bit. And then it would get good, and it would kind of come to me, and I could make some ground up on them, but I just couldn't run as consistent as those guys. So every time I'd get a little sniff of that front group, I would just watch them pull back away. So I kind of knew that at some point, unless they got crazy and did something stupid, which, those two aren't going to do, that I was just, holding on for a podium.
Yeah, that was actually something we noticed. It looked like kind of, like you said, it took a little bit for you to kind of get the car where you wanted it to be after a restart, and they kind of let those guys get out ahead a little bit. But, I mean, you finished third tonight, and you're going to have gained a lot of points on both Liam and Travis, because Liam had a decent run to a 10th place, but Travis had obviously kind of a really bad day, so you might actually be second after this race in the championship. I don't know. I mean, you got to be happy with that points wise, though, right?
Yeah, definitely. I knew I needed a good run, good finish to make up some points and try to get up there. And yeah, I mean, especially given how it went down with Matt and Steve, I had a third place car and finished third, so no complaints.
Well, the next round is Bathurst and the V8 supercar, and I know it's one of my favorites. You got any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Bathurst is great. Those cars, are a ton of fun. And even after that, we have the F1 in Brazil, which should be interesting. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next round. I mean, that's an icon race every year.
Yeah, well, I mean, once again, really great job tonight. It looked like a really good job by all the Alliance guys. We had a 1, 3, 4, and 6, and 7th, if I've got it right. So looks like you guys really nailed it with the car and this combo, and good luck for the next round.
Thanks, Christian. Quick shout out, of course, thanks to Jason and Matt and with the help on the set, and congrats to the Alliance team. I want to thank Mike and Wayne and John and the majors for doing what they do, putting on a good show, and obviously GSRC. And I just enjoy watching these races. I enjoy the heck out of these guys. So thanks for the broadcast, and I appreciate what you guys.
That was a third place finisher Trevor Clement talking to us there. Obviously, Trevor knew he would finish in third because he put the Roman numeral 3 on the front of his car.
Great point.
It just struck me as I was looking at that. But of course, again, we want to give a big thank you to the majors, Mike Willett, and everybody who helps him behind the scenes to organize these races with 3 regions and a ton of drivers throughout the world, literally throughout the world, competing. It takes incredible organization. Also, big thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is go to their YouTube page and click on the big red button that says so. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. Easy for me to say. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Sean, Christian, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race is going to be, as we said, Down Under. That'll be Bathurst in the Supercars, Sunday, October 13th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.